Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of In Between the Stitches. I'm your host, Brady Wilson, and of course, I'm with my co-host, Chase Olschwanger.
What's up?
And we will be without Zach Babb today. Zach had an emergency meeting that he had to go to. So, Dallas Stars, quick, lost last night in a shootout to Vegas. But, you like that you played Vegas well. Obviously, they feel like the roadblock you have to get through in the West. The season's 2 games in, so I don't think we'll be talking more about the Stars once, baseball goes out. And, so that's your quick Stars update from us. Then we got the Mavericks start in 1 week. So, Chase, anything of note?
No, I mean, continue to say there's nothing going on. Preseason's wrapping up. There's exactly a week away from regular season starting today or next week.
So we'll be covering more Mavs then. And we're hoping that at that point it'll also be a Rangers World Series preview episode.
I hope so.
I had somebody ask me, would we do an emergency if Rangers won the pennant? I'm like, well, probably not. Because the way the World Series would work and the schedule, we'd be able to celebrate winning the pennant next week. So there won't be any emergency episode or anything like that. It'll just be next Wednesday. Hopefully we're talking about how the Rangers took care of business in Arlington against the Astros and not, blew a 2-0 lead.
Hopefully.
Hopefully that's what we're talking about. And speaking of those Rangers, we're going to dive right in. And how about them Rangers? I mean, you're up 2-0 against Houston. You beat Baltimore. Where were we last time? It was.
I think we were already won.
Yeah, we already
waiting
beat
on the
Baltimore.
Twins to play game 4.
That's right. Yes, we had beaten Baltimore. So we're 2-0. I was hoping for the split. We got better than the split. Because the split allows you it kills their home field advantage. Because now you come back playing 3 at home, and all you have to do is win 2 at home to go up 3-2 going back to their place. That is what every manager will tell you they want starting a 7-game on the road. They want the split coming back home, win 2 at home, and then all you got to do is split again at their house, and you move on. So, but we did more than that. We went up 2-0. The Bats got to Framber Valdez. And if anyone saw my tweet, and when we put Seager and Simeon on, I said the way to beat Valdez is to get on him early and to pile on runners. Because usually if he gives up 1 hit, he's okay. Once you get those 2 base runners on, those 3 base runners, from what I've seen from him this season, that's when he crumbles. Yeah. He can't handle. And then when he made that throwing error, I said, oh, we're about to go off. Because he's in his head. His stuff's not going to be sharp. And we score 4, and then that first inning, that Heim, the big insurance run, which what turned out to be the big insurance run, as, Bregman hits a home run, oh, we're not worried. Then, another home run, oh, we're not worried. Then, they are down by 2. Then Jordan hits 1, and now you're a little bit concerned. And I'm still not concerned about Chapman. And this is probably because I'm a huge Aroldis Chapman fan. I always have been. He was, I was really a wee young lad when he was throwing 106 for Cincinnati, and seeing that as a 10-year-old kid, actually more like 8 or 9-year-old kid, and being able to play with him in MLB 2K12, which is a great video game. And it's funny, they actually put a little thing for him was when he threw the ball, it would make a different sound in the game for Chapman. So he was always someone I loved because he threw really hard and as a little kid. That's really cool. And so there's that childhood love of this pitcher Chapman. So that's probably why I'm not as worried, just because I love having all this Chapman, and I'm not concerned because he's pitched in big games. And, usually when he's not pitching well, it's because he's being overworked. We saw that in 2016 when he came in on back-to-back nights. I was not happy because I thought, why are you pitching? Stratton can get guys out. You liked Will Smith so much this year. See if he can get somebody out. Why? And then with Chapman, it wasn't even that bad of a pitch. It was a little bit firm.
No, it was a great pitch actually. My dad's not a big fan of him, and he's either amazing or he's just going to come in and just crumble. And when he hit the home run, he was upset. I was like, that's a really good pitch. That was a dotted slider on the outside corner. Jordan is just Jordan Alvarez. That's all it was.
He just went out there and got it, and it was a little firm. I'll give the Chapman haters that it was a little firm. But it didn't slide as much as you would have liked it to have. But it was still an effective pitch. It wasn't like he hung it right over the middle of the plate, or the pitch that he threw to Altuve that led them to beat the Yankees. It was away. That's exactly what you want to a left-handed batter. Jordan just went out there and got it. and that's just one of those you have to tip your cap. It's kind of like when people get mad at a corner when a quarterback throws a perfectly placed ball, and I'm like, well, what do you want him to do with that?
Yeah.
There's nothing. You got to just tip your hat and say that was a hell of a play, and I'll go out and make the next one.
Yeah.
That's all you can do. And Jordan is the only guy that scares me right now from their lineup, at least currently. Altuve and all those guys, Chaz, they still kill us, but they haven't yet this series. And I think that Jordan's the only guy. And the comp that me and my dad had, this was 2019. So this was the other analysts are starting to catch on, but I will take some credit for this. Me and my dad both said he looks like David Ortiz.
Yeah, they're saying that now as the comparison.
And now you're hearing it. He looks like David Ortiz. I mean, I called my dad. And I said, "Told you. You know, me and you were on this back when he was a rookie. You know, he looks like Ortiz. It's just when the playoffs lights are shining on him, he's hitting homers.
Yeah,
it's just and he's like I've always said, he's one of two players, the other being Josh Hamilton, that every time they swing the bat, not make contact, I could probably name about 20 to 25 players that when they made contact and it was a fly ball of any kind, I thought it's gone. Guys like Gallo, Giancarlo Stanton, Aaron Judge, Shohei. But Hamilton and Jordan are the only two guys, whenever they swing the bat, I just think, uh-oh. Like, it's just, they just have that very imposing swing. They just, they hit a dribbling foul ball, and I'm thinking, oh, that's gone. Just because the way their swing looks, it's so pretty.
Right.
And he scares me, and, but if we can keep him in check, you feel pretty good about your chances in that ball game. Tonight, we got Game 3, and we got Mad Max on the mound. I'm pumped.
I'm excited, and I want to have faith in him because I do. I do trust him. But you remember his last start versus him when he was healthy? He got rocked. You remember what happened to Eovaldi in his first game back off injury in a long rest? Got rocked.
Yeah. By
the same team. And that's what scares me because I trust, know what he's been. I know how successful he's been in the playoffs and just in his career in general. But still, I mean, when you're going up against the Astros, they can kill anybody. But it's a different type of scared, that makes sense when you go up against this team.
No, I definitely agree that you're more scared, but playoff Scherzer is definitely a different animal, And something else that I saw that I thought was really interesting, and I'm trying to find it here, and it was the last time an ALCS game was played in Texas. It was Game 6. It was Game 6, 2011, and Max Scherzer was actually pitching in that game for the Detroit Tigers. And I'm trying to find the stat line because it was on a tweet. But he pitched like 2 1/3. We rocked him because we won 15-5. People forget that because the 2010 clinch was the strikeout looking on A-Rod. It was so electric.
Right.
2011 was we just pummeled the Tigers.
Right.
In that game. So it's a really, I love full circle moments and stuff like this. So to me, it's just so cool that the last time an ALCS game was played in Texas, Max Scherzer was pitching against us. The next time an ALCS game is pitched in Texas, Max Scherzer is going to be on the mound for the Rangers.
Right.
So I think it's just a really, really cool full circle moment that I did not think about. I knew he pitched in that series. I knew he pitched in Arlington. I forgot that was Game 6. I'm confident. I'm not like it's tough to say because his last start, but I remember after that start, that was when they started saying he's dealing with the problem. I remember them saying, I don't know if it was
after that Houston game.
Yeah, it was after that Houston game. They said, well, his stuff wasn't as sharp. That was true because there was I think the Abreu Grand Slam.
You were at that game, right?
Yes, I was.
Well, not to remind you.
Yes, I was at both the Eovaldi and Scherzer games.
Okay.
Hopefully tonight, as I am going tonight. Hopefully it's a different outcome because I don't want to have to sit through. And it would really suck. I don't think it's going to be that outcome. And in fact, I know it's not because Scherzer is, again, back then he was dealing with the shoulder issue and his stuff wasn't as sharp. I remember it was Bochy was saying, well, his slider wasn't as sharp and this and that, and he's dealing with, I think it was the triceps was what they called it at that time. And then it was, because I remember I think the next start was Toronto. And they were like, well, remember last time, he was dealing with an issue and now he's being pulled out of the game. So is it really this big, big problem? Turns out it was. And, I'm confident in Scherzer because I've seen this man against Houston in 2019. I think I've brought this up on the podcast, but I'm going to bring it up again. 2019, he was supposed to pitch Game 5, either Game 5 or Game 6. And he could not get out of bed. He had a neck injury that was so, his wife had to dress him, she had to do everything for him because he couldn't move his arms. He couldn't do anything. Then Game 7 goes out there and throws, I think, 6 innings, 2 runs. Like, he was Scherzer. He wasn't maybe 8 innings, complete game, 9-inning shutout, Scherzer, but he was still Scherzer. So I've seen him in the playoffs turn it up. And I think that, and at that point, and, what's his face? One of the Astro writers, Michael Schwab, was like, the last time we faced Scherzer, we lit him up. This is going to happen again. Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, and I had to retweet because one of our Rangers guys was like, nobody tell him that Scherzer is this in the playoffs or something like that. And he said, and nobody tell him that we rocked him his last time out. And then I retweeted, and nobody tell him that at that point in the season, we had no Josh Young. Evan Carter wasn't up yet. Scherzer was dealing with the issue that he eventually had to go on the injured list for.
Same with Evaldi, yep.
Okay, same with Evaldi. He was coming off of, an injury, hadn't pitched in like almost 2 months. We were in our worst slump of the year. We're also now on a 7-game win streak in the playoffs. So this is not the same team you guys kicked the crap out of a month ago. If these 2 games in Houston didn't tell you that, I don't know what will. I have to question your ability to judge a baseball team if you think this is the same team that you faced a month ago, because it's not. It really isn't. We are playing with a lot of moxie right now. And I think with Scherzer, the reason I'm confident is after we won the ALDS, they were in the clubhouse, they interviewed him, and they said, were you pining the team for, and he's like, oh man, I was just telling him, just get me a chance to get back and play. And that to me, and you look in either one of his eyes, which are different colored, of course, which is fun. They had that cool graphic, and it was Scherzer's day, and he's staring down there. It looked really cool.
Mad Max returning.
Yeah, but if that doesn't tell you that this guy is about to do something tonight, I don't know what will. I mean, that's a man that's motivated. He's won a ring, but it's the old Tom Brady adage. Yeah. What's your favorite ring? The next one. Yes, he's won one, so that's great for his legacy. But you don't think he wants to win another one,
right?
You don't. This is why he waived his his option for next year. This is why he waived his no trade clause. This is why he decided to opt back in for next season, because he really felt, and I'm sure CY had a conversation with him or his agent. Look, and he talked about him, and the guy that I think helped clinch this whole thing was DeGrom. He texted him, was like, hey, hey Jake, is this a place where I want to go? And DeGrom was like, bro, you need to get down here. Like there's something special happening here. And so I think DeGrom helped sell him a little bit on the vision that CY sold DeGrom on.
Right.
And Scherzer decides to come down. This is why he came here.
He wants to be here.
He could have chosen to say, nah, I'm going to stay in, because he liked New York. His family was there. He said, I like New York. I want to retire. I think he even said, I want to retire here. I could have sworn at some point he said that. So for him to want to waive his no trade clause and to opt in for another season to play for us, that signals to me that, you said he really wants to be here. And he wants to, bring a championship. It's something that, my dad helped me realize when I asked him why when a couple years ago when we signed our new hitting coaches, Hires and Donnie Ecker. And I'm like, well, these guys had the same position with the, I think it was Hires with the Red Sox. Why would they want to come here where we suck? And my dad goes, well, because every man wants to be able to say, I helped build that.
Right.
I was a part of it. It's you heard Seager say, I won, I won one with the Dodgers, and that was the first one that they had won in a little while,
right,
since '88. And so to see that city, I wanted to bring that to Texas. And I think it was the same thing for DeGrom, the same thing for Bruce Bochy, the same thing for Mike Maddox, the same thing for Max Scherzer, in that, man, I really want to come here and say I was a part of this team winning its first championship. Because Scherzer's already experienced that with the Nationals. The Expos or the Nationals, neither of them, if you want to consider them the same franchise, neither of them won a championship. And so that was the first time that franchise had ever won a championship. And Scherzer can say, I was a part of that. I helped them win game 7. I memean, that's huge to be able to say that. So I'm confident in his ability tonight. We're going to have our full lineup, because there's no, the only lefty the Astros have in their entire roster pitched last night. So Carter will be in the lineup for the entire day. I'm confident because we just beat their 2 best pitchers. We just beat Verlander and Valdez. So now you're going to have to probably face Javier and Urquidy. Both are solid pitchers. Javier can strike everybody out when he is on. But they've done a really good job of game planning the lineup, and I mean they got to Verlander, and thank you Jordan Montgomery, you freaking stud.
Listen, I gotta say it at least once in this show. I was at Game 1 in Houston.
Yes,
it was a very, very interesting environment. I'll tell you that, because it was very weird being around the opposing side,
being the away team. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure it. Hopefully, it's not like that tonight. That's the one thing that I remember from those 2 games in September was
I'd be shocked if it was the same.
I was with Seth that was on our draft show,
Right.
and he just said, "Man, it feels like an away game," but we're in Arlington. Like, it feels like I'm in an away game with all the Houston fans. And so I'm hoping that the Rangers, that's one reason why I wanted to go. And again, if I had the money and I didn't have school, I'd be going to all 3 games, because to me, that's taking away a seat from an Astros fan. That's I'm putting a Rangers fan, me, in a seat, and I'm going to be loud. And I'm hoping that there's not as many Astros fans.
Of course,
there's going to be. I'm hoping it's 60-40.
I'll tell you this. There was a lot of Ranger fans in Houston.
I'm sure there were.
There was a good amount.
It's not an awful drive if you live in the Metroplex. It's what, a 4-hour, 5-hour drive?
I mean, me and my dad left early in the morning around like 9 a.m. So it took us a good 4 hours.
About 4 or 5 hours depending on traffic. Yeah. So it's not, obviously from Denton, it's a little bit worse. It's about a 6-7 hour drive, I think. So, but I think that.
No, it's about a 5.
About a 5? Okay. Yeah. So, I'm confident in our team's ability to win. Do I think we're going to sweep? I wouldn't bet on it because it's the Astros.
Of course, yeah.
I'm hoping that one game we lose is not tonight. That would really suck. I don't think it will be. I think it's going to be any game.
I hope you're right.
I honestly think that the game we would probably lose would be tomorrow, and it'd be because we don't have one of our big guys going to tomorrow. It'd be because we got lucky. He turned in probably his best performance of the season in Game 1 of the ALDS.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it wasn't a deep 6-7 inning performance, he was still really, really good. And then Dunning to come in, and I think that, you'd probably see that. That's probably when the Astros would get us. Probably. I'm saying we could sweep. I would love a sweep. It's definitely, obviously, it's still possible. And I'm not saying that we can't do it. We're playing. We look like, I've seen a lot of October baseball, and of course, not as much as I'm going to see, hopefully, in my lifetime, from any team. And this looks, every year there's one team. Every year there's one team that just looks like that team of destiny. That's not one of the top 2 or 3 tears. That looks like the Rangers.
So there's a couple teams right now, Rangers and of course the Philadelphia Phillies.
Well, the Phillies, but to me the Phillies were arguably the second best team in the playoffs,
right
behind the Braves. So it's hard to say they were the underdog. This kind of felt like more their completing of their story. For us, we're the 5th seed. We won. I mean, the Phillies won 90 games, but the Phillies, I think there was a sense of, okay, they can beat anybody. The Rangers, nobody picked us to win the wild card series. I remember everybody picking the Rays. Everybody was picking the Phillies to beat the Marlins. So it's hard to say that they were an underdog when everyone was picking them to go. And and I would say it was probably 60-40 Braves winning that series.
Yeah.
So there was still a lot of analysts saying the Phillies could win that. I don't. It's hard to say. And even then, now the Phillies, everyone picked the Phillies over the D-backs. I bet you nobody picked the Rangers over the Astros. Very few people picked the Rangers over the Astros. And so I think that, and there's some people on Astros Twitter that are trying to cry the underdog mentality for them. And you cannot cry underdog mentality.
We are still the underdog.
When you've won a World Series and you won it the previous season. Yeah. You can't cry underdog. It doesn't work like that. No, we're still the underdog. We're confident going 2-0. We went in your house and punched you in the mouth, and now you're on the ground. Our job is to now step on your throat and finish the step. We didn't do that to the Cardinals. We haven't done that in our history. We Rangers have a very long history of not completing the crushing of the other team's throat. And so right now you have the ability to do that, and start that to go up 3-0, which would be crippling because it's only ever happened one time in the history of baseball, and it was the year I was born, 2004, when the Red Sox came back 3-0. And I think it was one of the greatest moments of broadcasting I've ever seen. Jeter, they were on the Fox broadcast, and Jeter,
it was awesome.
Jeter looked at A-Rod and said, we were up 3-0 in a series and we lost, and Poppy kind of sits back and goes, "You did?"
Yeah.
I'm surprised Jeter didn't go, "Yeah, and you were the guy that killed us in that series." I mean, Poppy won what? He walked it off, I think, twice in Boston that sent it back to New York. So Ortiz was, I think the LCS MVP in that series. So, I mean, obviously it's kind of funny for him to be the one that says, "You did? Really?"
Yeah.
Remind me of that, Derek, please. But it's happened. And, and even in that series, Game 3 in Boston, New York killed them at Fenway. They beat them 19-8 was the score of that game in Game 3. So even because if that happened today, everyone would be saying, "Oh, there's if you got beat close, you could respond." But how do you respond from that? And the Red Sox won 4 straight. So you don't even if you blow out the Astros tonight, don't count them out.
No.
Because every game's a new game, and you have to think that way in baseball. And we're learning that lesson in football, which we'll get to in a little bit. But I'm very confident in the Rangers' ability to win this series. Obviously up 2-0, but I'm not counting on it still because I don't want to get ahead of myself.
No.
And, in talking more about those Astros fans, how bad were they to you in Houston?
Not bad at all, actually.
Not bad?
It was
Okay.
funny.
That's good.
We were, we weren't sitting. I will say this about the 2 ballparks. I like Globe Life a little more because I was always asked by my friends, like, now that you've been to both, like, what's your favorite? I think Globe Life is a much better ballpark, right? And it's I'm bringing this point up because we weren't sitting, too high up, but it's not a big stadium, right? So we were up high, but the people that were up there were all very genuine. They're all asking me like, some questions about our team. There was one lady who's like, what position does Corey Seager play? She saw the jersey I had on. I was like, no, he's like shortstop. I was like, oh, okay, I like him. I'm gonna take a picture of him. They were nice. They were nice people. And I know that's not everybody. They are the equivalent to Eagles fans, I would say.
At least to us Rangers fans,
yeah.
if you're a Cowboys fan. But I think that for Astros fans, there's a hatred from some. I don't hate them all the time. I hate the ones that you kind of have to hate.
Not the Zach Babb Astro fans.
No, the ones that are chill and are like, oh, I don't like the Rangers and you don't like us, but we can still be friends because we're, Texans have an ability to go, I don't like you, but we're still Texans, so we unite over that.
Right.
But there were some, I remember I saw a TikTok and a guy did a video and he was, so going to Astros fans, can y'all say one nice thing about Rangers fans? Well, they have nice, a lot of them, well, I can't say nothing nice.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I could say something nice. I mean, I like a lot of the Astros players, especially from their history. I mean, guys like Nolan Ryan, that 86 team was really fun to watch. They had guys like Billy Hatcher. They had Mike Scuffball Scott because he used to scuff the ball on his split finger. That helped them win that year. Obviously, they lost to the Mets, but I think that Astros fans, and we were talking about this before we started. Astros fans are trying to take a superior road, the high road of well, you guys have always been the little brother, we've always been the big brother that beat you up. And I'm like, well, so I did a little digging. I'm like, what? I have my preconceived notion of what the history looks like, but let me go actually look it up and see if I'm wrong. Up until 2017, so before 2017, the Astros had been to the playoffs 10 times, and the World Series once. We had been to the playoffs 8 times. And the World Series twice. So they can't really cry history pre-2017 because, yes, they had 2 more playoff appearances, but we had more pennants. So to me, that somewhat, and they were around a decade before we came to Texas because I do not count the Senators when discussing the Rangers. That's not the Texas Rangers, that's the Washington Senators. That's a different team. Maybe the same players and franchise, but it's not the same team, if that makes sense. It's a different team, new identity.
Right.
So they were around 10 years before us, only have 2 more playoff appearances, and don't have more pennants, actually have less up until 2017. They have been the superior team for a total of what? 7 years? 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. 6 years.
If you want to count this regular season.
And I don't want to count this season just because if we're able to finish this off, they cannot say it anymore.
Yeah.
You had your 6-year run. Now it's time for us to have our run. And I think that Astros fans are forgetting that they were not very good for most of their history, much like us. You had your high moments, and they had their high moments before we did. Made the NLCS in 80, 81, and 86. We didn't make our first playoff until 96. So that is true. And they made the World Series first. They made it in 05. We made it 10 and 11. But if you take it, but we made the playoffs in 15 and 16, so up until 17, we kind of were pretty even in our history.
Right.
And so I think that is what's angering me the most is that they're acting like they've always been the superior franchise. No, you've been the superior franchise for 6 seasons. 6 years. The previous 6 seasons, you're in the what have you done for me lately mentality, which is a mentality that can sometimes work in sports, but to me doesn't always work because I look at the record books and they were in the National League before.
Yeah.
So we weren't really big time rivals. We've only been rivals for 10 years. And that's probably why they have the mentality because in the course of that rivalry, they have dominated us for the most part. The only exceptions being 13, 14, 15, and 16, where we were winning and they were not. I mean, they made the playoffs in 15, but we were better than them. We beat them. We won the division twice. Right. They didn't win it. We were the superior team, and since then they've been the superior team. So that's probably why they have the superiority complex. That was the word I'm looking for. And it's like, well, franchise wise, not really. Last several years, yes. And so,
and maybe starting from what we started talking about the fans, like maybe that's why a lot of them are new into Astro baseball, so they joined the not really the bandwagon, but just started following the team more maybe in 2017. So they don't really have that history of knowing,
right.
What were we before this? I dare say it, potential dynasty.
Right.
So
right. I mean, yeah, that's a great point. That Houston. My dad likes to joke with me all the time that Rangers fans didn't know. Hey, they didn't know we had a baseball team till 2010, and some didn't know till 1996. They didn't know we had a baseball team. Oh wait, the Rangers? Oh yeah, I've heard of them. Something like that. And I think that it's the same thing with those Rangers fans. We haven't been able to talk crap. We haven't been able to talk trash. I almost slipped there. We haven't been able to talk trash since 2016. So it's been a while. We had to take a back seat and let the Astros have their run and talk all their trash. Now it's time for us to be able to. We can talk back now. Yes, the regular season, you guys beat us pretty good, but we were both really injured. When we beat them, they were injured. When they beat us, we were injured. So we really didn't see a full series with full strength, everybody healthy. And even then, DeGrom never pitched against the Astros. 0 times this year. They never faced DeGrom. So you never faced our best pitcher. We faced yours. In fact, yours, you didn't get until the trade deadline. So hard for you to say, and Evaldi shoved when he wasn't hurt or coming back from an injury. So when it comes to Astros fans, I think they have that complex, and I think it's easy for them because, and a lot of it I think has to do with their inferiority complex about the Metroplex, because Houston likes to think, but we're the big city in Texas. It's not Dallas and Fort Worth. Like, no, it's Houston. And they're really more like the armpit of Texas. And DFW is kind of the glory, the glitz and glamour, the one that has TV shows about it, the one that, I'm going a little old school there, the one that everyone thinks when they think Texas, they think DFW. They think Dallas, Fort Worth. They don't think, and Arlington can be right, is like I said, it's in the middle of those two.
Right.
They don't think Houston. Houston's the armpit of Texas. Houston is humid. It's hot. It feels like crap. I'd rather go to Galveston. So I don't think. And then they like to poke fun at us and call us South Oklahoma, which is fine. They can whatever. That's good. Good. You have a clap back. That's good for you. Houston. I think it has something to do with that. They don't like Dallas and Fort Worth. They think we're all a bunch of whatevers, and we don't like them because we think again they live in the armpit. So I think that there's some jealousy there, and I think that there's some, look, the Rangers have a weird fan base, and I hate saying this, but Josh Hamilton was right when he said this is not a baseball town, and I'm sure what he really meant was what I'm about to say. This is a straight football town, because it's a football state, okay? The Houston Oilers were right up there with the Cowboys in terms of belovedness, right? Not national recognition, because we obviously are the kings of that. But the Oilers were up there with fan interest and the love that it had from its city. Then they moved. And I think the Texans have never really been able to recapture, because the Oilers had some great players. Earl Campbell, Warren Moon, they had some great offenses there, especially in the late 80s, early 90s. Then they moved. And so I think that the Texans have had a difficult time recapturing that magic the Oilers had. And so a lot of those fans became Cowboys fans. But this is a football state. It is not a baseball state or a basketball state or a hockey state. This is a football state. And then when it comes to DFW teams, this is always how it's been and how I've perceived it from being a fan, at least, through the 2010s. It's, okay, the Cowboys will always be the Cowboys, the big team. When the Mavericks, Stars, and Rangers are good, the interest goes up. But when they're bad, most people, that's when the diehards are showing up, and not really the casual fans. And I don't think that's bandwagoning. To me, that's it's valid. Someone like me, right? I'm gonna use me as an example. I'm gonna go to Ranger games regardless. Me and my dad, we sat out there in Arlington when it was hot and 100 degrees and watched our team. That's what we're gonna do. We always did. When we lost 101 games, 102 games just 2 years ago, I think I went to 8 or 9 games that year, which is a normal amount. I didn't go less. I didn't really go more because it's still my team.
Right.
Win or lose, I'm going to be going to my games. I'm going to be watching every day. That's just how I was raised. It's how I operate towards my teams. But I know that not everyone is like that, especially towards baseball, especially towards the Rangers. And so it's not that this isn't a baseball town. It's not a baseball town like St. Louis or L.A. for the Dodgers specifically, or the New York for the Yankees or Mets, or for Boston or Chicago for not only the White Sox but for the Cubs especially. This isn't like one of those great American, the Reds have a great baseball town. I've heard people say that they actually are more popular than the Bengals in Cincinnati, which is really interesting. It's kind of a thing I don't really understand because
it brings you back to your point that the Bengals have not been good until a few years ago,
and the Reds have a really, really good history,
right.
Obviously, but we're not one of those classic American baseball towns. No, DFW Sports, when you're hot, you're drawing. When you're not, you're. And I pulled up something from Baseball Reference, and it's our attendance. Our top 3 attendance years are 2012, so the year off the World Series, 13, the year off of that, and then 2011, the greatest season in Rangers history. And then below that is 97, the year off our first playoff appearance, 98, and then 96 playoff appearances. 01 is a weird anomaly, and then 99, and then 2 more down, 16, then a couple more down is this year. So you see, and if you go year by year, you see spikes.
Right.
The year we win, the year after we win, there's a big spike, and then if we're not very good, then you see it go down. So you see DFW sports fans, we show out, and we're a very passionate fan base when we're good. There's a lot of good Rangers fans out there. Rangers have a great fan base.
Yeah.
It's just that, first of all, not a lot of people wanted to go out there at the old ballpark. I mean, it was, again, the most beautiful ballpark I've ever laid eyes on. But not everyone is going to want to go sit in 110-degree heat and watch a team lose 90 games. I mean, we didn't do that too much in the 2010s, but especially before that in the 2000s. Right. And in the 90s, we were really good. But then you're going to Arlington Stadium before 94, and that was a crappy stadium and crappy weather. So, of course, we didn't draw much, right? I mean, unless Nolan Ryan was pitching.
Right.
Of course, you're not going to draw much because it's hot, it's a crappy ballpark, and no one really wants to go. The only ones that are going are the diehard fans or the casual fan who goes to one a year.
Right.
And I think it was even the same thing with what I'm calling the Temple, the second ballpark, ballpark in Arlington. A lot of people wanted to go to see the ballpark, where they'd go to night games. Day games, it was pretty scarce.
Yeah.
Especially in July, because a lot of Sunday games were afternoon games, so no one really wants to go to that. Plus, people are at church, so they don't want to go to church and then go to the Ranger game. So I think that was a problem the Rangers have had, and it doesn't mean we have a bad fan base, but it's just that the Astros fan base has been louder because, like you've said, they've been good the past 6 years, so everyone's becoming a fan. If you polled all of Texas right now, I guarantee you Astros would probably be leading. I think there was a chart that Fox did based off of just, I think there was the hashtags and Twitter and all of that. There were more Astros fans in Texas and Louisiana than everywhere else was the Rangers. I think, though, if you go back 12, 13 years ago, when the Rangers were really, really good, from 10 to 2016, in that span when we were really, really good, except for 13 and 14, where we didn't have our greatest seasons, I guarantee you Texas was a Rangers state.
Yeah.
I guarantee you. That's just kind of how Texas is. So I know people that are both. I know a lot of people that are, I'm a fan of the team that is winning. So they've been Astros fans. Now they're starting to turn back to Rangers fans. I don't really understand that. But that's, to me, that'd be like, I'm a Texas A&M fan and a Texas fan, whichever one's winning. To me, that's just, it's like that. It's just not going to work.
Yeah.
So, but there are people that do that. So I'm confident the Rangers tonight. Hopefully we can pull out another win, go up 3-0, and step on the throat tomorrow or Friday. And I do not want to go. Your goal for the Rangers should be, we're not going back to Houston.
Right.
If you can not go back to Houston, If the next game you play in Houston is in 2024, you have done your job. So, anything else you'd like to add before we move to football?
No, I mean, what are your thoughts on just Christian Javier? You think? Do you think
when he's hot, man.
Yeah.
He gets a lot of strikeouts, but when he's kind of like Framber, when he's not hot and you can get to him, and he's got nasty stuff. So
he does. If I can remember just from his season, I'm pretty sure his stats were very inflated. But if you look at his last probably 8 to 10 starts, he was the most runs he allowed in the game was 3.
Right.
But I think his stats are 4.5 ERA with a 1.2 to 1.3 WHIP. So
right.
you look at that and you're like, oh, okay. But you really do a deep dive into his season and into his last 10 or whatever starts, and you see, well, this guy could be a very dangerous pitcher.
Right.
So if Rangers go in and do their job, it sounds cliche. It always sounds cliche. I mean, but if the Rangers bats can get going and they hit well, I don't see how we struggle.
I'm curious if it's going to be the same game plan that they had against Verlander and Framber. Was it Framber or Framber? Whichever one. Against Valdez, where it's get on him early. Let's not let's not worry. Let's get on him early, and we'll worry about that. I mean, Javier. I'm trying to find where he was against the Rangers this year, because I want to say, dang it, I'm not seeing. I would love to see where he is against the Rangers, and I think I saw something, and it was he wasn't very good against the Rangers, which would be really, nice. Here we go. He made one start against Texas this year.
Really?
Made one start. It was July 3rd. He went 4 1/3, gave up 8 runs, 8 earned. That was the game where we killed him. Wait, no, that was the game. Wasn't that the game where they beat us?
Was it when we came back 12?
Yeah,
he's staying in for 8?
We came back, and then that was the game where we came back on him, and then we lost. So
right,
we've seen this offense excel. Was that game? Okay, we've seen this team.
Who pitched for us that game? I don't remember.
No, come on, why you? I just clicked off of it.
Oh, you gotta know.
Well, hold on, everybody. We're taking a second, but that game, I remember that game. It was not a lot of fun to watch because Martin Perez went 1 1/3, 6 runs, and then Glenn Otto came in and just got shelled.
Okay. And
then your favorite player, Will Smith, was the one that blew the save. But
hey, I didn't have that type of feeling towards Will Smith at that time.
Javier was 4 1/3, 9 hits, 8 runs, all of them earned, I believe, 4 strikeouts, no walks. So he's a guy that does struggle with some control, but he gets a lot of strikeouts.
Yeah.
So I'm confident we can beat him. And then from Scherzer, they've kind of said that maybe it's going to be a 70 pitch count, but that if he's feeling good and he's cruising, maybe they let him go past that. I wouldn't expect 105 pitches from him.
No.
I'd probably say 90 is the next cap. Maybe they let him go past that. Bochy's definitely this is where that old schoolness from Bochy comes out. And if he's dealing, hey, I'm gonna leave. If Scherzer's dealing, I'm gonna leave my guy in. So, I like.
Yeah, hopefully we don't pull a classic Schneider move in the Blue Jays when Jose Barrios is dealing. And
we don't have the front office going to tell the manager to do that. So, and if Chris Young tried to do that at any point, which he would never do that. But let's say that John Daniels was still here or someone else was still here, and tried to do that, Bochy would tell him to get the bleep out of my office, and I'm going to manage my team. Speaking of John Daniels, real quick before we move on, he deserves some credit, and I'm going to keep saying it until the season's over. He deserves credit.
Yeah.
Heim. Okay, let's look at. He pretty much acquired the entire lineup while he was here. Chris Young was here for some of these, but these are all guys acquired while John Daniels was still working for the Rangers, regardless of Chris Young. Jonah Heim, Nathaniel Lowe, Marcus Semien, Corey Seager, Josh Young, Evan Carter, Leody Taveras, and Adolis Garcia. Your entire lineup, and the only one that wasn't was Garver. I think that was all Chris Young.
Yeah.
I think that. No, John Young was still here because he was fired at the end of it was mid last year. Towards the back end, we acquired Garver before last season, so I stand corrected. The entire lineup, John Daniels helped acquire or acquired by himself. Guys like Josh Young and Leody. Chris Young wasn't here when those guys were acquired.
But you look at the pitching.
Dane Dunning was acquired under John Daniels, And if you want to count Perez,
Well, no, I'm more just talking like Evaldi, Scherzer, DeGrom.
right? No, Evaldi, Scherzer, DeGrom, obviously, none of them were acquired at that point. I'm looking at the pitching staff. Dane Dunning was, John Gray was, Will Smith was not, Brock Burke was, Jose Leclerc was, Josh Sborz was, Hernandez, Cody Bradford. I think Grant Anderson was acquired. He was acquired under. I'm looking at the 2023 team, just the slot here.
I wonder what the status is on John Gray.
Reagan's was. He's probably gonna. He could be the first guy out of the bullpen tonight.
Yeah.
Glenn Otto. I mean, they're he's not the team anymore, but there was a lot of these guys that were acquired under John Dane. So he deserves his due credit for helping build this baseball team, and I think I could argue he deserves a ring if we win. If knock on, he does. I mean, he helped build it. I mean, I don't know. He's not going to get one, but I think he deserves one because he helped build this team. And Rangers fans don't like him because he clashed with Nolan Ryan, and Nolan Ryan can walk on water, in the eyes of Rangers fans. So he deserves his credit. Now I'm going to move on to football.
Go Rangers!
Right, so go Rangers! Everyone, be loud there tonight. It's going to be exciting.
I know you brought up earlier, going back to you saying 60-40 is what you want to see. I don't see that happening. I think it's going to be more 70-30, 80-20.
We'll see.
I mean, I
said 64 is what I'm hoping for. So now we got football. Week 6, me and Chase both tied 11-4 this week. Commanders and Falcons, we both got burned on. Picked the Falcons. Commanders got that one. I got burned on the Vikings-Bears game. I picked the Bears. He picked the Vikings. Vikings won that one. We both got burned on the Niners-Browns. Both got burned on Eagles-Jets. And then he got burned on Saints-Texans. I picked the Texans. He picked the Saints. So about that Niners game, and I think this is a point that football fans are starting to realize, and this year, this is a weird year. There is more parity, I think, this season than any other season in the history of the NFL, at least when it comes to teams and talent. If this last week doesn't prove that to any fans, I don't know what will. Because everyone thought after the previous week, the Niners and Eagles are juggernauts. Who's going to beat them? Maybe they'll have to beat each other. That'll be their loss. And then now there's 0 undefeated teams through week 6. Usually you don't get that through week 6.
No.
Usually it's through about week 8 or 9 you get your first. That's when the last undefeated team loses. There's just a lot of parity, or not a lot of parity. There's. It's hard. These teams are just so talented, and there's not a lot of teams that are just super bad. And looking down this list, Broncos, maybe Commanders, but even the Commanders beat the Falcons. Carolina, maybe the Patriots. That's about it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not a lot of just awful teams, and so I think that is what's very interesting about this season. It's making this really hard to pick games.
Yeah.
So looking ahead to next week, I'm wrong. Cowboys. Hey, we're back in the win column, folks. Cowboys win it. Yeah, we got a little clap here. We played like a football team again. Hey, they must have listened to this. They must have listened to last week's episode.
I think they did.
And heard my rant, got pissed off. Say, that kid up there in Denton, we got to prove him wrong. Look, I'm happy they did because they looked better. Still sloppy. They're still, as Tom Downey over there at the Cowboys Report for Chat Sports on YouTube, great channel. I'm plugging another channel here, but as he likes to say, we're the penalty boys. We can't, it was an awful game from that. It was sloppy from both sides. It was sloppy football game, and it was not a lot of fun to watch. Like if it hadn't been my team, I would have turned it off at some point. Just because I wouldn't turn it off, but I would have been doing some other things. I would have grabbed a book. I would have done something because it was sloppy. It was just a bad football game, and it was just we have more talent, so we won. And we played a little bit better than they did, and the defense played better. I think you definitely need to go get another corner at the trade deadline
for sure.
And looking at that list. I haven't really looked at too many guys that could be available. Obviously, the big one that I would love is Patrick Surtain from the Broncos.
Right, and I told you that's going to cost, a couple body parts.
That's going to cost a lot. So, I am not sure. Oh, look at this. Okay, so I'm looking at some
Devontae Adams. I'll take him too.
Big names from the trade deadline. I wouldn't mind Hunter Renfrow. That'd be interesting. I'm looking at some of these big names. I was hoping to see corner. No, I'm not going to see corner. So I'm going to go look at teams that are rebuilding, and I'm going to go look at their corners and see, is there anybody that we could really go snag? Obviously, Pat Surtain would be the dream scenario, but that's going to cost you a first-round pick, most likely. And I don't really want to give up a first-round pick for somebody like that. So looking at other teams, let's go to the Broncos. Who else is on the Broncos? You could go after, okay, well, look at their roster. I'm not going to look at that. Nope. Nobody else. Nope. I mean, not really any other big names that I'm liking there.
Chicago Bears, Jalen Johnson.
I've heard Jalen Johnson as a name, and I would be a huge fan of that.
I would love that.
I'm going to New England because we know Bill likes to trade. But they don't have any healthy corners. That's the problem. They have no healthy corners and none that are young enough where you're like, I want to deal him. Or none that are veteran enough where you're like, let's trade him away. Let's look at the Panthers. Panthers could be dealing some guys. Okay, here's one. I know his numbers don't look very good. I've always been a fan of Dante Jackson.
I have too.
He's fast. He wouldn't cost you an arm and a leg. He'd probably cost you maybe a 5th-round pick, something like that. I'd be a huge fan of trading for Dante Jackson. I've always liked his game over there in Carolina. I'm not saying he's an immediate complete upgrade, but he gives you some depth. So, another guy in there that would be pretty good. But I think you could use another corner. Bland reminds me a lot of a young Trevon Diggs or a young J.C. Jackson. He's a ball hawk. He just needs to learn some more with that refinement, and I think he'll be good to go. So I think next year is going to be his breakout year. I think you were kind of hoping that Gilmore can be your bridge guy for maybe a year. Maybe you bring Gilmore back. I'm okay with that. Obviously, he had the game-sealing interception. But maybe he's your bridge year for Bland to step into that number 2 role next year. And now you have 2 kind of young ball-hawking corners, and we're hoping that Diggs comes back fully healthy.
Yeah.
So right now, you probably could use some reinforcements on your defense. And your offense, you feel pretty good about it. It's just a matter of getting them to play better. McCarthy had a lot better game. That first drive was awful. And they need to fix something in the run game. I don't know if it's a scheme issue, blocking scheme. Something is wrong because they can't run the ball. And they should. With this group, you should have no problems running the ball.
Yeah.
And you're having problems. So that's a problem. At least, I think that you're going to have to figure out how to fix.
Is the defense just maybe forcing Dak to beat them or, really stacking the box when, Pollard's in the backfield?
Yeah, so
it could be.
I wasn't able to watch the film before today's episode to see what the big issue was. But for right now, you got to clean that up. Dak looked really good. Dak had a great game. There were a lot of drops that were pissing me off that, looks bad on Dak's, score sheet. But if you watch the game, you know that Gallup dropped several catchable footballs. There were some other drops. I really felt like it was a good game from your offense. You scored 20 points. You got out of there with a win. You have a bye week. Get some guys healthy. Figure some stuff out. I think it's the Rams and
then Philly, I believe,
in week 8. So now, wrap this show up here. We're going to do our predictions. So week 7, no Cowboys on this list. So Jaguars at Saints. I think I'm going to go the Jags.
I'm going to go with the Saints. I'm always, I've been supporting them, for the year when it comes to our predictions.
Okay.
So I'm gonna keep rolling with it.
We'll see.
Trevor Lawrence status is questionable too.
Browns at Colts, and quick note on the coach, your guy Anthony Richardson, he's out for the season. I know you're probably sad about that.
I am very upset. I think the NFL fans are sad. I mean, it's tough to see a guy with so much talent and so much youth just go out so early.
Yeah, I'm picking Browns at Colts. I'm picking Browns.
I'm picking Browns.
All right, you're picking Browns, so I'm gonna write that down. Bills at Patriots. Bills. I don't even have to think.
I think you can put what I want.
Bills. Yeah. Okay.
No, I want the pass. I'm gonna go for the underdog.
No, I don't think so. Commanders at Giants. Give me the Giants in this game. I know that's a kind of an out there pick, but give me the Giants. I think they could win this game at home. Sure.
Give me the Commanders.
All right. Lions at Ravens. Give me the Lions. Give me Dan Campbell. Gonna bite.
See, that's gonna be a good one.
They're gonna bite them kneecaps off.
I'm gonna take the Lions.
Lions. All right.
Because could see for the first time this year Jahmyr Gibbs actual use.
Yeah,
we'll see his talent with no Montgomery.
Raiders at Bears. Ooh, this is a kind of a suck bowl here. This is not many. This isn't a team that I'm game that I'm rearing to.
Before we make a
rearing to
prediction, just got a
watch.
notification saying Jimmy Garoppolo will not practice today due to his back injury.
All right.
So
Well, on that note, give me the Bears.
I'll take the Raiders.
Take the Raiders.
The
By the way, you've picked 5 straight away teams on here. Falcons at Buccaneers. Give me Baker at home.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Buccaneers here too.
All right. Steelers at Rams. Give me the Rams.
Give me the Rams.
I know they don't have Kyron Williams, but I still think they'll be able to win that game.
Zach Evans is gonna get the lead role.
Yeah. Cardinals at Seahawks. Ooh, I want to go Cardinals. I really do, but give me the Seahawks.
Kyler Murray back from the PUP list. Buda Baker back from IR.
Yeah, but the new Call of Duty.
And I'm still
out
going
soon.
Seahawks.
Yeah, but the Call of Duty new one isn't coming out soon. So I mean, Kyler. He probably knows who he's playing.
Yeah.
Packers at not Browns. Broncos is what this is. I have bad handwriting.
Give me Packers.
Give me the Pack. I like Jordan Love. I do. I don't like the Aaron Rodgers Packers. This Packers team, I'm fine. I like it. Chargers at Chiefs. After seeing that game, give me the Chiefs. But I mean, Chargers could put up a fight.
Yeah, and they always typically do. You know,
Because the Chiefs
with the AFC West matchup. I mean,
the Chiefs look bad against the Broncos, so it's possible.
I'm gonna take the Chiefs though.
Yeah, it's hard to bet against them. Dolphins at Eagles. This is the Sunday Night Football. Like I'm watching. It's a tough one.
Whoever you take, I'll go with the opposite.
Because I don't want you to do that. I want you to go with who you really think is going to win, not with that.
Yeah.
I think I am going to go. I'm gonna let you say who you're going with first this time. I'm gonna put you on the spot, make you pick.
Man, you're giving me the pressure.
It's tough because you're looking at a team that the Dolphins have an explosive offense, but the Eagles have a stifling defense. So,
right. I mean, you look at the.
So which one is going to prevail? So I know who I'm going to pick. So
I'm going to go with the Dolphins.
That's who I'm going with.
I'm going to go with the Dolphins because you look at the one thing that the Eagles have been struggling with this year, and that is that secondary. I know they have good names, but I believe they are ranked like 28th or 29th when it comes to secondary like just pass defense. So
here is why.
And that's what that team likes to do.
Here is why I'm going with the Dolphins. Coaching. Okay, I don't like Nick Sirianni, but I think he's a good coach.
I don't like him, but yeah, exactly.
I think he's a good coach. But I think that Mike McDaniel is going to run circles around whoever the Eagles' defensive coordinator is now. I don't remember who it is. They obviously Gannon left.
Yeah, it's a new guy. Yeah.
I think he's going to run circles around him. And then I think whoever the new OC is for the Eagles, whoever their offensive guy is, they're going to have problems because the Dolphins, while they don't have the greatest talent on defense of all time, they got one of the best DCs in all football. They got Vic Fangio and that Fangio 3-4. Very tough to beat. So I'm going with the Dolphins based on the coordinator matchup, not really a player matchup. Niners at Vikings. Give me the Niners.
I'm gonna go with the Niners.
Yeah. All right. I think we agreed on almost.
There was a few.
I think we agreed on all of them.
Really?
Nope, not the Raiders. We didn't agree on the Raiders. We didn't agree on Giants Commanders. So we'll have.
There wasn't another one?
So nope, there's two. So there's two that me and you have a chance to die on.
Okay.
So we'll see. I mean, hey, you shouldn't change your pick just trying to differ from me.
No, it wasn't. It was just when it comes to the Eagles and Dolphins, it's like you really don't know what you're going to get. You could get a shootout. You could get a.
You know what? Oh, we'll do this. If they lose because of the secondary, we'll say that you got a point, like a quarter of a win there, and if they win because the coordinators, slightly different reasons. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening to this episode. Rangers Game 3 tonight. Again, we'll be there. My favorite all-time Ranger, Ian Kinsler, will be throwing out the first pitch. So I'll be screaming for Ian Kinsler. I cried the night he was traded. I cried. I loved Ian Kinsler, man.
Yeah.
And then my current favorite player, Jose Leclerc. Hopefully, we're seeing him close out the game tonight. We didn't talk about him. I think we should have. So real quick about Leclerc, close out every single game. He's got his confidence back. He's even said, "I got my confidence right, and I'm pumping 98, 99." Yeah. He looks like your closer going into opening day next year if it holds. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. We will see you back next week where we will be able to talk about the conclusion of this Rangers-Astros series.
Because it'll be over, right?
It'll be over at that point, and so we are.
No matter what happens,
we are hoping because it's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, off Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then we're done.
Right.
So we are hoping that we are coming in here on a Victory Wednesday and we're popping bottles, and we're excited about the Rangers and the World Series and whoever we're facing. Probably going to be the Phillies. That's probably win the National League. We didn't really talk about that series. There's not much to say.
It's just been domination.
Here's my write-up on the Phillies series. The Phillies are killing the Diamondbacks. They killed both their best pitchers, and now they got Brandon Pfaadt going.
Yeah.
Have fun. You're dead. I'm sorry. I mean, maybe the Diamondbacks can pull out and make it a series, but I don't see it happening too much.
Yeah,
So the Phillies are hot. This is kind of, it feels like their year, hopefully. Hopefully we're the team that beats them. But I'm not getting ahead of myself.
Right.
Let's go win Game 3 tonight.
Let's worry about ourselves.
And then we'll step on the throats tomorrow night in Game 4. Thank you for listening, and we will see you guys next week.
Have a good one.